Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world. My name is Dr. DAAM. This is Dr. DAAM Podcast, episode 70, The Complex Minded. It's been over a month since I last held a session. I think the last session was June 18th, so it's now July 27th. A month and about, what, 10 days, I guess, since I last did a podcast. So this is going to be a brief podcast. It's a little after 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time where I am. If you see this in the ring, this is my new Army War College ring. Just recently graduated from there. Um, so I wanted to talk about a topic that's of minor concern, but it's how you frame the world or how you assess the world through different lenses. And as you all know, I'm big into understand the world, understand society, and talking about it. We're all about the great society, the mom and pop stuff. Side note before I start, see the gray rhino above my head? Let me see if am I putting this pro? Yeah, right there. I was actually at a class at the Army War College, and a professor, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he was the last guy. He talked about useful fiction. He runs useful fiction. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on his name. And he started talking about the book Black Swan and how people become surprised by low probability, high impact events. And then he mentioned, well, there's also the gray rhino. The gray rhino is something that's right in front of you, but you've chosen to ignore it for a long period of time. And it becomes a problem when you have to address it because you failed to tackle it when it was smaller and was manageable. And now it's this large metastasized situation that becomes problematic for you and whoever you are working with, or if you're part of a large group, part of a large entity, or a small group, small entity. It's just now this overwhelming problem set you have to address and find solutions when you could have found solutions much earlier. But we as human beings have a tendency to avoid circumstances that we do not want to think about. I don't know why we do it, but it's just in our nature. We want to avoid a certain happenstance, and all of a sudden it smacks us in the face and we're wondering what happened, even though we knew what happened because we have been delaying the inevitable for a while, and that becomes problematic over time. So I want to talk about the complex minded. I recently had a conversation with a friend over text message. He's a conservative friend of mine, and he stated that he is open-minded. And I replied back, I am complex-minded. The reason I stated that is open-mindedness is a very constant, it's an overused term from my perspective in how people assess themselves. They put the labels on themselves that they're open-minded, and thus we must accept the fact that they're open-minded, or they think they're open-minded, which is fine. I don't think I think I rarely ever use the term open-minded in terms of myself, because I understand there's cognitive breaks that are composites in my mind that prevents in certain cases me, oh my God, did I just, prevents in certain cases me from developing a sense of acceptance of someone else's point of view. So I'm not as open minded as I would state that I am. So my belief system about myself has inherent flaws. And those flaws become very obvious once I'm talking to someone and they're expressing their ideas, their ideology, or their understanding of a certain event situation or something else. And I'm just saying I'm open-minded and accepting it, but I never change my mind. The new information comes in and it goes out, and I still maintain the same mentality. Because that information, while factual or additive, is not impactful in a way that will cause me to revisit my existing position, my existing thought processes. So, from my perspective, open-mindedness has significant drawbacks in terms of how we understand what it is and how it's actually applied or employed, or however you want to describe it, or used as part of our inherent selves. So I prefer the term complex-minded, meaning, as I described to my friend, I have tons of infinite mirrors in my head, and they're reflecting different ideas and thoughts based on what I'm receiving from society, what I'm receiving from others. I may not change my mind, but I will consider what someone is telling me. But also, I may change my mind and become more contrary, and maybe join that person on their side of the equation. And or a new idea may generate based on the information I've gotten, and I, instead of taking position X or position Y that the person's has described, or his or her position, I take position Z. I go from a two-dimensional plane to a three-dimensional plane of thinking, or four-dimensional by adding maybe an alpha vector. That's what complex-minded is. You can hold the same position, you can move to the other person's position, you can adopt a new position, or you can accelerate to a high-level position which encompasses all of these thoughts and ideas. And basically don't have a position at this point in time. You're sitting there willing and wanting to absorb more. And that essentially is what complex-mindedness is. There's the X position, there's a Y position, there's a Z position, and there's the A position. By the way, I created the A position because I realized that we sometimes exist in 4 dimensions, and 3 dimensions does not really satisfy the idea of a complex-minded person. Because if you think internal to your brain, your brain is like space. There's no up or down. There's no right or left. There's no bottom. Your brain is in space. Your brain is a universe in of itself. That's what complex mind is a universe that sits inside your cranial cavity right here. And that helps you formulate thoughts and ideas in a different way than what you might have originally perceived in the past or the present. Because the future It's the state you're now taking when you join a state of complex mindedness. Yes, I will firmly admit I created this term, but I love creating terms because it helps me think about new ways of thinking. And many times when I go to these podcasts, I'm actively creating new thoughts and ideas because there's a stream of consciousness coming from one way, from another way, from behind, from above, or from wherever, and they're all formulated in my mind, and new ideas, new concepts, new constructs are fruitioning, and my intellectual thought processes are expanding at the same time. And that is essentially what a universe does, as we've discovered. Endless expansion. Originally, as we know, based on the Big Bang Theory, which is seemingly now in question because there may be something prior to the Big Bang by millions of years or billions of years. So, Big Bang happened, expansion universe, dark matter, dark energy, whatever you want to call it. That's the Big Bang theory. Now there's other cosmological theories where yes, the Big Bang happened, but there's actually time behind it and forces behind it. Means possibly other universes behind it. And thus it's not really a strong theory anymore based on what's being discovered by the James Webb Telescope. And the reason why the reason I mention this fact is that is what complex mindedness is. You have an idea on one side, the X side, another idea on the Y side, and then you take one of these two positions or you create a new position Z, and then beyond Z there's a big giant A, which is super complex. Because our minds are very complex. Whoever, whatever created the human mind, that beings or whatever force it is, was absolutely beyond genius at the highest order. You know, it's kind of funny, and I'm talking to you in the camera or you who will watch this later on in the future. I sometimes theorize, and this is part of the complex mindedness nature, that we human beings, as we create AI, we are essentially creating how we came to being. You're replicating that. Either one theory I have in my mind, because I love theories, is that humans created humans. Meaning the fact that we became so advanced that we created artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence went back in time and created humans. Now, that would be a very strange theory to be realizable based on the fact that for us to create, we must exist first. And how do we exist if we did not create? So something had to happen first before we came to being. But we cannot just come to being and then create ourselves and then have something else create us. So that's the stuff that runs through my mind. And no, this is not a conspiracy theory because I don't trust conspiracy theories, but it's good thinking a lot. You know, one of my favorite things to do when I'm lying down. You know when people are scared of the cliffs in their minds or the giant space in their minds? where there's nothing, there's just an abyss because it's just black and inky or whatever. Or there's shapes there of different things you can create. You know, a little apple can spin in your head. I can see right now the big giant red apple that can spin in your head. Or you can just grab that apple or eat the apple or whatever. I love when I'm thinking and your mind opens up and then it's just like this big giant vacuum there of this big giant space, this big giant universe. And I just jump into that universe and just fall, knowing there's no up or down in my mind. Because normally you should be scared of that fall because you're plunging yourself into your mind, into a space. But space has no up or down, no right or left. So you're actually floating, just falling forever. And think about that. Imagine if we're in somebody's head, a colossal being of 93 billion light years. We're sitting in somebody's brain. Think about that. Someone's brain is universe. Because in our brain, we have all the universes too. And that is what complex mindedness is. Our mind is a universe in itself. It is an endless universe that we can build and grow and expand. It's not open. It's a closed universe. But because when I say closed, I mean it's inside of our cavity, brain cavity right here. Not literally closed. But when we think about that, when we think about what it means to be open-minded versus complex-minded, what would you rather be? Understanding A versus B, and then just sticking with A, or shifting to B, and not really creating C, or moving up to D at the fourth dimension, or as I was describing earlier, starting at X, getting Y information, then moving to Z, and then going to A. Or in Excel, in Microsoft Excel, it would be double A. So you're in the next level A. So think about that. Are you open-minded or are you complex-minded? Or maybe you're both. But I would say being complex-minded is a higher order than open-minded. There's a limitation in open-mindedness. There's an inherent limitations. Because you can only hold 2 or 3 perspectives in an open-minded state. In a complex-minded state, you can hold infinite perspectives and never have to settle on any of them. It may come off as indecisive or you don't have the inability to choose, which is a legitimate critique. But it also says that you have an imagination for more, beyond what is told or what is known. That is the heart of complex mindedness. Have an imagination beyond what is told and what is known. And you exist in a third or fourth dimension of thinking. Think about that. Your mind is a universe. We always see the depiction of the brain as stars and stuff like that. because somebody's visual, but it's true. Your mind is a giant universe. The cosmos have placed the 93 billion mile or kilometers, I think. Oh no, sorry, light years. 93 billion light years into your head. Imagine that. You have 93 billion light years in your head. And then you can go beyond that. Think about it. If you have a complex mind, you have 93 billion light years in your head at this point. You have the universe in your head. That means your potential is infinite. Your potential is boundless. Your potential is universal. My name is Dr. DAAM. This is Dr. DAAM Podcast, episode 70, the complex mind, or complex mindedness, whichever one you would prefer. But remember, you have a universe in your head, and it's waiting for you to explore it. And if you explore it, you share it with others, your thoughts and ideas in a positive and collegial way. So remember, continue to build your mind to that third or fourth dimension, because you will make a difference in society, in this world, if you continue to push yourself beyond what is considered position A, B, C, or D, or position X, Y, Z, or double A, or A, whatever you want to call it. Remember, you have 93 billion light years in your head. You have a universe in your head. Thank you all. Be safe. Have a good rest of your day. Please like, subscribe to my podcast, Dr. DAAM. Catch you later. Bye.